The baby's cries cut through the metal halls of Sanctuary Station like a knife through silence. Hana pressed her son closer to her chest, her forearms trembling as she tried to rock him. Her pale blue skin had grown even paler from exhaustion. She had not slept in 2 days. "Please, Ki-hyun," she whispered in her native tongue. "Please be quiet, my little star." But the baby only cried harder. His small face was red and wrinkled, his tiny fists beating against her arms. The sound echoed off the walls of the refugee quarters, making other families look up with worry and anger. The Sanctuary Station was home to over 10,000 refugees. They came from different planets, different species, all running from the same enemy. The Devourers had taken their worlds, eaten their homes, destroyed everything they loved. Now they lived in crowded rooms with thin walls and shared air that smelled of fear and sadness. Hana sat on her small bed in the corner of room 47C. Around her, 12 other Thylorian families tried to rest, but Ki-hyun's cries made rest impossible. The other mothers looked at her with tired eyes. Some covered their ears. Others moved their own children away. "Make him stop," said an old Thylorian woman named Bora. Her voice was sharp with pain. "We all need sleep." "I am trying," Hana said. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I have tried everything." She had tried feeding him, but he would not eat. She had tried singing the old songs her mother taught her, but he only cried louder. She had wrapped him tight and held him loose. Nothing worked. Ji-won, her friend from the medical bay, came over. She was young like Hana, but her training made her seem older. "How long has he been crying?" 18 hours, Hana said. "Maybe more. I cannot remember when it started." Ji-won touched the baby's forehead with 2 of her fingers. This was how Thylorians checked for sickness. Her face grew worried. "He has no fever. His body is fine. But something is wrong with his spirit." In the next room, something crashed to the floor. Angry voices shouted in different alien languages. Ki-hyun's crying was making everyone upset. The sound hurt their ears and made their minds feel sick. "We need to take him to the medical bay," Ji-won said. "They are too busy," Hana replied. "I went there twice today. They said to wait, then we go to Captain Daehyun. He will help." Hana shook her head. "The humans do not care about us. We are just numbers to them. Another problem to solve." But she was wrong about that. In the security office 3 levels up, Sergeant Minho was reading reports about the refugee quarters. He saw the complaints. Room 47C, crying infant, disturbance, possible removal needed. Minho was 28 years old and had been a soldier for 10 years. His face was hard from seeing too much war. His hands were rough from holding weapons. But when he read about the crying baby, something soft moved in his chest. He remembered his little sister crying when the Devourers attacked their colony. He remembered holding her as their parents fought to save them. He remembered her last breath in his arms as the evacuation ship carried them away from their burning home. "Sir?" Private Sunho looked at him from across the room. "The complaints from level 12 are getting worse. Should we move the family?" Minho looked at the report again. "Mother and infant. Thylorian refugees. No father listed. What does the medical bay say?" "They cannot find anything wrong with the baby. But the crying is making other refugees sick. Some of the empathic species say it feels like screaming inside their heads." Minho knew about Thylorians. They were peaceful people who could feel each other's emotions. They had no weapons, no armies, no way to fight back when the Devourers came. Most of their children had never heard a harsh word before the war started. "I will go look," Minho said. "Sir, someone needs to check the situation. Make sure no one gets hurt." Sunho nodded, but his face looked confused. Sergeants usually sent lower soldiers to check on refugees. They did not go themselves. Minho took the elevator down to level 12. The crying got louder as he walked through the halls. Other refugees pressed against their doors as he passed. Some pointed at his uniform and whispered. Humans made many aliens nervous. They had a reputation for being violent and dangerous. When he reached room 47C, he stopped outside the door. The crying was so loud it hurt his ears. He could hear voices inside speaking in the Thylorian language. Someone was very upset. He pressed the door button. It slid open with a soft hiss. The room was small and crowded. Thylorian families sat on thin mattresses with their few belongings around them. In the corner, a young female held a crying baby. 2 other females stood near her, speaking quickly in worried voices. When Minho stepped inside, everyone went quiet except the baby. All eyes turned to look at him. The Thylorians moved closer together, like small animals when a predator comes near. "I am Sergeant Minho," he said in the common trade language that most refugees could understand. "I came to check on the noise complaints." The young mother holding the baby looked up at him. Her eyes were red from crying. Her face showed fear and exhaustion. "Please," she said in broken common tongue, "do not take my baby away." "I am not here to take anyone away," Minho said. He kept his voice soft and calm. "What is your name?" "Hana," she whispered. "And this is your son?" She nodded. "Ki-hyun." "He will not stop crying. I do not know what is wrong." Minho looked at the baby. He was small even for a Thalorian infant. His skin was the same pale blue as his mother's, but his eyes were darker. They looked old and scared, like he had seen terrible things. "How long has he been crying?" Minho asked. "Almost 1 day," said another female. This one wore medical clothing. "I am Jiwon. I work in the medical bay. We cannot find anything wrong with his body. But something is wrong with his spirit," Hana added. "He was born during our escape. He saw our world burning. Maybe he remembers." Minho felt something twist in his stomach. He knew what it was like to see your world burn. He knew what it was like to run away from everything you loved. "May I sit down?" he asked. The Thylorians looked at each other with surprise. Human soldiers did not usually ask to sit with refugees. They gave orders and left. Hana nodded slowly. Minho sat on the floor near her bed, careful to keep his distance. He did not want to scare her more. "Tell me about your world," he said. "It was called Thylos Prime," Hana said. "We had great trees that sang in the wind. Cities built in harmony with nature. Everything was peaceful. How did you escape?" "My mate was a ship worker. When the Devourers came, he put us on an evacuation transport, but he stayed behind to help others." Her voice broke. "I do not know if he lived," Minho nodded. He understood loss. He understood being alone with nothing but memories and pain. The baby kept crying, but Minho did not move away. He sat quietly and listened to Hana's story. Around them, the other Thylorians slowly relaxed. They had expected the human soldier to be harsh and demanding. Instead, he was patient and kind. "In the old days," said an elderly Thylorian male named Wu Jin, "when our children cried like this, we would take them to the warriors. The sound of a strong heartbeat would calm them." "But we have no warriors," Jiwon said sadly. "Our people do not fight." "What kind of heartbeat?" Minho asked. Wu Jin looked surprised that the human was interested. "One that has seen battle but protects life. One that is strong but gentle. The heartbeat of someone who fights not for anger, but for love." Minho stared at the crying baby. Something told him that this was important. Something told him that maybe, just maybe, he could help. But first he needed to understand more about what was happening. The crying was getting worse, and soon other refugees might demand action. Time was running out for Hana and her son. 3 hours later, everything went wrong. Hana had finally fallen asleep holding Ki-hyun when his cries suddenly became louder and more painful than before. The sound cut through the station like an alarm. In the refugee quarters, people woke up screaming. The Zephyrians in room 47B started making clicking sounds of distress. Their large ears could not handle the baby's cries. In room 47A, the Velkin family huddled together, their fur standing up with fear. But the worst happened in the main corridor outside. A group of Mindari refugees were walking to the food hall when Ki-hyun's new level of crying hit them. The Mindari were telepathic, and the baby's emotional pain felt like knives in their minds. "Make it stop," one of them screamed, falling to his knees. Other refugees heard the panic and came running to see what was wrong. Soon, dozens of people filled the narrow corridor. Someone pushed someone else. More people screamed. The crowd began to move like a frightened animal. Jiwon was getting medicine from the supply room when she heard the noise. She ran back to find chaos in the hallway. Refugees were pushing and shoving, trying to get away from room 47C. Several small children had been knocked down in the panic. "Help," she called into her communication device. "Medical emergency on level 12. Inside room 47C, Hana held her screaming son and cried. The other Thylorian families had moved as far away as possible. Some had left the room completely. "I am sorry," Hana sobbed. "I am so sorry. I do not know what to do." Old Woojin sat on his bed and watched her with sad eyes. "The child is in pain," he said. "Not body pain, soul pain." "What does that mean?" Jiwon asked as she returned to the room. "When Thylorian children see great trauma, sometimes their spirits break," Woojin explained. They cry because they feel all the fear and sadness around them. They cannot shut it out. Can you fix it? In the old times, yes. But not here. Not without the right help. More voices came from the corridor. Heavy boots ran past the door. Security teams were coming to control the panic. Captain Daehyun arrived with 4 human soldiers. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He looked at the chaos in the hallway, then at the crying baby in room 47C. How long has this been going on? He asked Jiwon. The baby has been crying for over 20 hours now, she said, but something changed. He got worse. The medical bay? They cannot find anything wrong. They say it is not a medical problem. Daehyun rubbed his forehead. He had dealt with refugee problems before, but never anything like this. The baby's crying was making everyone sick and scared. If it continued, someone might get seriously hurt. Options? He asked his security chief. We could move the mother and child to an isolation room, the man said, or sedate the infant. Sedation is dangerous for Thylorian babies, Jiwon said quickly. Their nervous systems are very sensitive. It could kill him. An isolation would be cruel, added another voice. Everyone turned to see Sergeant Minho standing in the doorway. He had heard about the panic and come running. Sergeant, Captain Daehyun said, what do you suggest? Minho looked at Hana holding her crying son. The young mother looked completely broken. Her hope was gone. She had tried everything and nothing worked. Now people wanted to take her baby away or drug him into silence. Give me some time with them, Minho said. What? Let me try to help. The security chief laughed. You are a soldier, not a doctor. What can you do that the medical bay cannot? Minho did not answer. He walked over to Hana and knelt down in front of her. May I try something? Hana looked up at him with surprise. In all the chaos, she had forgotten about the human soldier who sat with her earlier. He had been kind when everyone else was angry. What do you want to try? She asked. I want to hold him. The room went completely silent except for Ki-hyun's cries. Everyone stared at Minho like he had said something crazy. Hold him? Jiwon repeated. You said the old Thylorians took crying children to warriors. I am a warrior, but you are human, Hana whispered. Your kind is known for violence. What if your energy is too strong for him? What if it is exactly what he needs? Old Woojin sat up straighter on his bed. The human speaks truth, he said slowly. A warrior's heartbeat is what the saying speaks of. One who has seen battle but protects life. It is too dangerous, the security chief said. If something happens to the baby while a human soldier is holding him, it will cause diplomatic problems. More problems than a station full of panicked refugees? Minho asked. Captain Daehyun looked around the room. He saw the fear in the Thylorian faces. He heard the continued chaos in the corridor. He knew something had to change, and change fast. 5 minutes, he said to Minho. If the baby does not calm down in 5 minutes, we try sedation. Hana clutched Ki-hyun closer to her chest. I do not know, she said. I am scared. I understand, Minho said gently. I am scared too. But your son is in pain. Let me try to help him. Jiwon put her hand on Hana's shoulder. I will stay right here, she said. If anything seems wrong, I will take him back immediately. Hana looked at her crying baby. His small face was red from screaming. His body shook with each sob. Nothing else had worked. Maybe it was time to try something different. You will be gentle, she asked Minho. I promise. Very slowly, Hana lifted Ki-hyun from her chest. The baby's cries got even louder as she moved him. Everyone in the room held their breath. Minho held out his arms. His hands were large and rough compared to Thylorian hands, but he held them steady and sure. Support his head, Jiwon instructed. Thylorian babies have weak neck muscles. I know about babies, Minho said quietly. I had a little sister. Hana placed Ki-hyun in Minho's arms. The human soldier was much larger than any Thylorian, but he held the tiny infant like he was made of precious glass. For a moment, nothing changed. Ki-hyun continued crying, his small fists beating against Minho's uniform. Then something shifted. The baby's cries became quieter. Not stopped, but softer. His little body relaxed slightly in Minho's arms. Keep going, old Woojin whispered. It is working. Minho began to rock gently back and forth the same way he remembered his mother rocking his sister. He held Ki-hyun against his chest, letting the baby feel his heartbeat. Shh, he said softly. You are safe now. No one will hurt you here. Slowly, amazingly, Ki-hyun's cries began to fade. His dark eyes opened and looked up at Minho's face. The human soldier looked back at him with gentle eyes. That is impossible, the security chief breathed. But it was happening. For the first time in over 20 hours, baby Ki-hyun was quiet. In the silence that followed, everyone could hear their own breathing. The chaos in the corridor had stopped. Other refugees pressed against the doorway to see what had happened. Hana stared at her son in wonder. How did you do that? Minho smiled down at the baby. Maybe he just needed to know that someone strong was protecting him. Ki-hyun made a small sound, not a cry, but almost like a sigh. His tiny hand reached up and touched Minho's face. He likes you, Ji-won said in amazement. The old saying was true, Woo-jin said, tears in his eyes. A warrior's heartbeat can calm a frightened child. Even across species, Captain Dae-hyun watched from the doorway. He had seen many strange things during his years in space, but this was something new. Something that might change how humans and aliens saw each other. Sergeant, he said quietly, I think you just solved more than one problem. Word spread through Sanctuary Station like fire through dry grass. A human soldier made the crying baby stop. The Thylorian infant went quiet in human arms. Did you hear about room 47C? Within hours, refugees from different levels were talking about what happened. Some did not believe it. Others were curious. A few were worried about what it meant. Minho returned to his duties after Captain Dae-hyun ordered him back to work. But he could not stop thinking about baby Ki-hyun. The way the infant looked at him, the way his small hand touched his face, it reminded him of his sister, but also felt like something completely new. You did good down there, Private Sunho said as they walked through the security corridors. Everyone is talking about it. It was just luck, Minho replied, was it? The baby stopped crying the moment you held him. That does not sound like luck. Minho did not answer. He was not sure what it was. In the medical bay, Dr. Nara was reading reports about the incident. She was the station's chief scientist and expert on alien biology and behavior. What happened in room 47C made no scientific sense to her. Bring me all the data on Thylorian infant psychology, she told her assistant, and get me everything we know about human brainwave patterns. Are you thinking there is a connection? The assistant asked. There has to be. Babies do not just stop crying because someone new holds them, especially not Thylorian babies during emotional trauma. Back in room 47C, Hana was finally able to eat something for the first time in 2 days. Ki-hyun lay sleeping in her arms, peaceful and quiet, but every few hours he would start to cry again, and nothing she did would calm him. It only works when humans hold him, Ji-won observed after the 3rd time this happened. When you or I try to comfort him, he cries. But he was quiet with Sergeant Minho. That makes no sense, said another Thylorian mother named Yunseo. Humans are warriors. Their energy should frighten our children, not calm them. Maybe that is the point, old Woo-jin said thoughtfully. Maybe frightened children need warrior energy to feel safe. But what does that mean for us? Hana asked. I cannot ask the sergeant to come hold my baby every time he cries. He has duties. As if hearing his name, Minho appeared in the doorway. He was off duty now, still wearing his uniform but looking more relaxed. How is he doing? Minho asked. He sleeps when I hold him, Hana said. But when he wakes up, he cries again. Only you can make him stop. Minho stepped into the room. The other Thylorian families watched him carefully, but they were not afraid like before. They had seen what he did for Hana's baby. May I? Minho asked, holding out his arms. Hana nodded and passed Ki-hyun to him. Once again, the baby calmed down immediately. His dark eyes opened and looked up at the human soldier's face. This is very strange, Yunseo said. In all our history, we have never seen anything like this. Maybe because you never had human help before, Minho said. He began to hum softly as he rocked the baby. It was an old Korean lullaby his mother used to sing. The melody was gentle and sad, full of longing for home. The Thylorians listened to the human song with wonder. They did not understand the words, but they could feel the emotion in it. Love, loss, protection, hope. What does the song mean? Ji-won asked. It is about a mother protecting her child from harm, Minho explained. About staying strong even when the world is dangerous. That is what our children need to hear, Woo-jin said. That they are protected. That they are safe. As Minho continued to sing, other refugees gathered at the doorway. Word had spread that the human soldier was back, holding the baby that had cried for a day and a night. Among the crowd was a young Thylorian couple named Kyung-soo and Minji. They held their own infant son. Tohyun, who had been crying on and off since the earlier panic. "Excuse me," Minji said nervously. "Our baby has been upset too." Could you try holding him?" Minho looked at Captain Daehyun, who had come to observe. The captain nodded. "I can try," Minho said, "but I need to keep holding this one too." Carefully, with Jiwon's help, they arranged both babies in Minho's arms. It was awkward at first, but both infants settled down quickly. Soon they were both sleeping peacefully against the human soldier's chest. "Incredible," breathed Dr. Nara, who had arrived with her instruments. "May I scan them while they sleep?" The reading she got made her eyes go wide. The baby's brainwaves are completely different when the human holds them. Their stress levels are almost zero. "What does that mean?" Hana asked. "I'm not sure yet, but I think human brain patterns produce some kind of calming effect on traumatized Thylorian infants." More Thylorian parents began to arrive, carrying crying babies. Soon there were 6 couples standing around Minho, all hoping for help. "I cannot hold all of them," Minho said, looking overwhelmed. "You do not have to," said a voice from the doorway. Private Sunho stood there with 2 other human soldiers, Privates Taehyung and Seokjin. "We heard what was happening," Sunho said. "We want to help too." The Thylorian parents looked uncertain. They had seen what Minho could do, but these were different humans. "What if it did not work the same way?" "It is worth trying," Hana said. "If it helps other children like it helped Ki-hyun." One by one, the human soldiers took crying Thylorian babies in their arms. Not all of them had Minho's natural skill with infants, but amazingly, all the babies calmed down. "This changes everything," Dr. Nara said, recording everything she saw. "We need to study this more. We need to understand how it works." As the evening went on, more human crew members came to help. Word had reached other parts of the station, and soon there were human soldiers, engineers, and medical staff all learning how to hold and comfort Thylorian babies. Lieutenant Hyejin from the navigation team was particularly good at it. She sang soft songs in Korean while rocking a baby girl named Soyoung. The baby's parents, Junho and Yeren, watched with tears in their eyes. "We thought our daughter would never be happy again," Yeren said. "She cried every night, remembering our world burning. But now she smiles." "Children are stronger than we think," Hyejin replied. "Sometimes they just need to feel safe." Captain Daehyun watched all of this from the corridor. His station had been designed to house refugees temporarily before moving them to safer locations. But this was something new. This was humans and aliens working together in ways no one had imagined. "Sir," his communications officer called, "we are getting reports from other refugee ships. They want to know about the human baby calming technique they heard about." "Tell them we are still learning about it ourselves," Daehyun replied. "But yes, it seems to work." As the night grew late, the human volunteers began to teach Thylorian parents about human lullabies and holding techniques. Some of the methods worked even when Thylorians used them, though not as well as when humans did it. Minho sat with Hana and baby Ki-hyun, who was sleeping peacefully in his arms. "I do not understand how this works," Hana said. "Humans are supposed to be dangerous. Your people are warriors and fighters. Why does my son feel safe with you?" Minho thought about this for a long moment. "Maybe being a warrior is not just about fighting," he said finally. "Maybe it is about protecting what matters. Your son can feel that I would protect him. That makes him feel safe." "You lost someone," Hana said. It was not a question. She could see the sadness in his eyes. "My little sister. During the Devourer attack on my home colony, I was holding her when she died. I am sorry. Holding your son, it helps me remember the good parts. The way she felt safe in my arms. The way she trusted me to protect her." Hana reached out and touched Minho's hand. "Thank you for protecting my baby's spirit. Thank you for trusting me with him." As they sat together in the quiet room, surrounded by sleeping babies and peaceful families, something new was beginning. Humans and Thylorians were learning that they could help each other in ways they never expected. But this was just the beginning. Soon everyone would discover that this special connection between human soldiers and alien children was more important than anyone could imagine. Dr. Nara had not slept in 36 hours. Her laboratory was filled with brain scan images, genetic analysis reports, and audio recordings of human lullabies. She was close to understanding something amazing. "Show me the comparison again," she told her assistant researcher Minjae. The holographic display showed two brainwave patterns side by side. One was from a crying Thylorian baby. The other was from the same baby while being held by a human. The difference is incredible, Minje said. Look at the stress hormone levels. When humans hold the babies, the stress chemicals drop to almost zero within minutes. But why? Dr. Nara asked. What is special about human brainwaves? I think I found the answer, said a new voice. Dr. Sang-woo, the station's evolutionary biologist, entered the lab carrying a thick data pad. Tell me, Dr. Nara said. I studied human evolution for the past day. Humans spent millions of years as both hunters and protectors. They had to be dangerous enough to fight predators, but gentle enough to care for their young. Go on. This created a unique brainwave pattern. Humans can project both strength and safety at the same time. Their minds learn to switch between warrior mode and protector mode instantly. Dr. Nara stared at the brain scans with new understanding. So when a human holds a traumatized baby, the baby feels both protection and strength. Exactly. Thylorian babies are naturally empathic. They can sense emotions and intentions. When they feel human brainwaves, they recognize a true protector, someone who will fight for them, but gently. This is revolutionary, Minje breathed. We need to tell everyone. In the refugee quarters, the effects were already spreading. What had started with baby Ki-hyun was now helping dozens of Thylorian children across the station. Sergeant Minho had become an unofficial teacher, showing other humans how to hold and comfort alien babies. His small group had grown to include 20 volunteers from different departments. Remember to support the head, he told Engineer Yunwoo, who was nervously holding a baby girl named Nayung. Thylorian neck muscles are weaker than human babies. She is so small, Yunwoo said in wonder, and her skin is so soft. The baby made happy gurgling sounds as she looked up at the human's face. Her parents, Jongho and Soo-young, watched with amazement. Before the humans came, she cried every night, So-young said. She was afraid of the dark, afraid of loud sounds, afraid of everything. Now she laughs. Children learn from us, Minho said. If we are calm and strong, they feel safe. Nearby, Communications Officer Yuna was teaching a group of Thylorian mothers about human lullabies. She sang softly in Korean while holding baby Jaehyun, whose parents watched with tears in their eyes. The words do not matter, Yuna explained. It is the feeling in the song that helps. Love, protection, promise of safety. Can you teach us the words anyway? Asked the baby's mother, Seonmi. I want to sing human songs to my son. Of course. This one is called Arirang. It is very old. It speaks of missing home, but also of hope for the future. As Yuna taught the Korean words, other human crew members worked with Thylorian families throughout the refugee quarters. The change was remarkable. Rooms that had been filled with crying and stress were now peaceful and warm. But the most amazing thing was how the humans were changing too. Lieutenant Commander Si-woo, who had been known as the strictest officer on the station, now spent his free time rocking Thylorian babies to sleep. His gruff exterior had melted away completely. I never thought I would be good with children, he told Medical Officer Jihai, as they sat with sleeping babies in their arms. You are very gentle, Jihai replied. These little ones feel safe with you. My own children back on Earth. I was always too busy, too focused on military duties. Maybe I missed something important. It is never too late to learn. The connection was affecting everyone. Human crew members who had been cold and distant were opening up. Thylorian refugees who had been afraid of humans were starting to trust them. Hana had become close friends with several human women, especially Nurse Chae-young and Engineer Hyojin. They taught her about human culture while she shared stories of Thylorian history. On our world, we lived in harmony with nature, Hana explained as they sat in the small garden area of the station. We never fought wars or built weapons. We thought that made us weak. You are not weak, Chae-young said firmly. You survived the devourers. You protected your children. You are stronger than you know. But we could not protect our world. Neither could we at first, Hyojin said quietly. The devourers destroyed 3 human colonies before we learned how to fight them. Strength is not about never falling down. It is about getting back up. Baby Ki-hyun lay sleeping in a special carrier that the humans had made for him. It was designed so he could feel a human heartbeat while his mother carried him. The design was so successful that the engineering team was making dozens more for other babies. He has grown so much, Hana said, looking at her son with love. Before he was always crying, always afraid. Now he smiles, he plays. He is becoming who he was meant to be. The trauma is healing, Chaeyoung observed. Having humans nearby makes him feel protected. It allows his natural development to continue. The success was spreading beyond just babies. Thylorian children who were older, 3 and 4 years old, were also responding to human presence. They would seek out human crew members during frightening moments, like when the station's engines made loud noises or when supply ships docked with metallic crashes. 5-year-old Mingyu had been having nightmares about the Devourers every night. His parents Donghae and Ryawuk were exhausted from trying to comfort him. But when Security Chief Kangen started reading him bedtime stories, the nightmares stopped. Human voices sound strong and sure, Mingyu's father explained to other parents. When humans say you are safe, our children believe them. The effect was so powerful that Captain Daehyun made an official policy change. Every refugee family with young children could request human companionship during difficult times. The response from volunteers was overwhelming. "We have more humans wanting to help than we have families who need it," reported Personnel Director Shindong. Everyone wants to participate. But the biggest change was in how different species saw each other. Before, humans had a reputation as the galaxy's warriors. Dangerous, violent, useful in war, but not much else. Other species respected human military power but kept their distance socially. Now Thylorian parents were naming their children after the humans who helped them. Baby Kihyun's middle name was officially changed to honor Sergeant Minho. Other families did the same. "It is traditional," explained Elder Wu Jin to curious humans. "When someone saves a child's spirit, they become part of the family. We call it Heart Father or Heart Mother." Minho was deeply moved when Hana told him about Kihyun's new name. "I do not deserve such honor," he said. "You do," Hana replied firmly. "You gave my son back his peace. You gave him back his future." The changes reached beyond Sanctuary Station. Reports of the human baby calming effect spread to other refugee ships and colonies. Scientists throughout the galaxy began studying the phenomenon. Some species were skeptical. The proud Zentaurians refused to believe that their children might benefit from human contact. The militaristic Corvan Empire thought it was weakness to need emotional comfort. But other species were interested. The empathic Delineans requested human advisors for their refugee programs. The peaceful Valdorians asked for human teachers to help with traumatized children. "We are becoming more than just soldiers," Captain Daehyun told his senior staff during their weekly meeting. "We are becoming healers." "Is that good or bad?" asked his first officer. "It is evolution," Dr. Nara said. She had joined the meeting to present her research findings. Species grow and change when they encounter new challenges. Humans are discovering new aspects of their nature. "What do you mean?" "For thousands of years, humans developed as warriors out of necessity. But now you are learning that your warrior instincts include protection and nurturing, not just fighting. This makes you more complete as a species." Back in room 47C, Minho sat with baby Kihyun while Hana rested. The infant was awake and happy, making small sounds as he played with Minho's fingers. "You started all this, little one," Minho said softly. "Your crying brought us together." Kihyun made a happy gurgling sound as if he understood. "Maybe that was the point," Hana said from her bed. "Maybe the universe brought us together for a reason." "What kind of reason?" "To show everyone that strength and gentleness can exist in the same person. That warriors can also be healers." Minho looked down at the baby in his arms. 6 months ago, he had been just another soldier, focused only on fighting enemies and following orders. Now he was something more, a protector, a healer, a bridge between species. "Thank you," he said to Kihyun, "for teaching us what we could become." Outside the room, the station hummed with new life. Humans and Thylorians worked together, learned from each other, and built friendships that crossed the boundaries of species. But soon, all of this would be tested. The Devourers were coming, and everyone would need to discover just how strong these new bonds really were. The alarm that changed everything rang at Aero 347 station time. "Devourer scouts detected," the computer voice announced throughout Sanctuary Station. "All personnel to evacuation stations." This is not a drill. In room 47C, Hana jerked awake as the light switched to emergency red. Baby Kihyun started crying immediately, not from trauma this time, but from the sudden noise and chaos. Throughout the refugee quarters, panic began to spread. Children who had lived through the destruction of their worlds began screaming. Parents grabbed their few belongings and tried to comfort their terrified families. "They found us," Hana whispered, holding Ki-hyun close. "The Devourers found us." The evacuation procedures they had practiced many times suddenly became real. Refugees moved through the corridors toward the transport bays, but it was not orderly like the drills. Fear made people push and shove. Children cried. Parents called out for family members. In the security center, Captain Dae-hyun watched the scanner readings with grim eyes. 3 Devourer scout ships were approaching fast. The main fleet would not be far behind. "How long do we have?" he asked his sensors officer. 12 hours before the scouts arrive. Maybe 24 before the main force gets here. Can we outrun them? Not with all the refugee ships attached. We would have to leave people behind. Dae-hyun closed his eyes for a moment. He had sworn never to abandon refugees, but if they stayed, everyone would die. "Begin emergency evacuation procedures," he ordered. "All refugee ships prepare for immediate departure. Military escort vessels will provide covering fire." Throughout the station, human crew members ran to their evacuation duties, but many of them had a new problem. Over the past weeks, they had become attached to specific Thylorian families. Leaving felt like abandoning their own children. Sergeant Minho received orders to report to Transport Bay 7, where he would board a military escort ship. But first, he ran to room 47C. "Hana," he called as he entered the chaotic refugee quarters. "Where is Hana?" "Here." She was packing the few things she owned into a small bag, while trying to calm crying Ki-hyun at the same time. "You need to get to Transport Bay 12, Minho said. "The refugee ships are launching first. What about you?" "I have to go with the military ships. We will protect you during the escape." Hana's face went pale. "You are leaving us?" "I have orders." Baby Ki-hyun seemed to sense the stress around him. His cries became louder and more panicked, the same way they had been weeks ago when his trauma first began. All around them, other Thylorian children were doing the same thing. The fear of evacuation combined with separation from their human protectors was bringing back all their old terrors. "This is bad," Ji-won said, trying to comfort 3 crying babies at once. "They are all relapsing. The panic is making them remember their original trauma." In Transport Bay 12, the scene was getting worse by the minute. Hundreds of Thylorian children were crying and screaming. Their empathic distress was affecting everyone, making the evacuation slow and difficult. "We cannot launch like this," the transport captain told his crew. "The children's panic is making the adults unable to function. No one can follow safety procedures." Captain Dae-hyun received the report and made a decision that would change everything. "All available human personnel," he announced over the communication system. "Report to refugee transport bays immediately." "We are implementing emergency protocol comfort, sir," his first officer asked. "That is not a real protocol." "It is now." Throughout the station, human crew members abandoned their normal evacuation duties and ran to help with the refugees. They had learned over the past weeks how to calm Thylorian children, and now that skill was desperately needed. Minho was among the first to arrive at Transport Bay 12. The noise was overwhelming. Hundreds of families crowded together, children screaming, parents trying to organize their belongings while comforting their traumatized young ones. "Ki-hyun," Minho called out, searching for Hana in the crowd. "Here," she called back. She was near the boarding ramp of transport ship Aurora, holding her crying son and looking lost and afraid. Minho pushed through the crowd to reach them. As soon as he took Ki-hyun in his arms, the baby began to calm down. But there were so many other children still crying. "We need more humans," Hana said, looking around at all the distressed families. "They are coming," Minho replied. And they were. Lieutenant Commander Siwoo arrived with 10 security personnel. Engineer Yunwoo came with his entire maintenance crew. Nurse Chae-young brought every available medical staff member. "Pair up with families, you know," Minho called out to the arriving humans. 1 human per family group. Stay with them during evacuation. It was chaos, but organized chaos. Human crew members found the Thylorian families they had been helping over the past weeks. Engineers, soldiers, medical staff, and communications officers all became temporary guardians for alien children. The effect was immediate and dramatic. As humans took crying babies and frightened children in their arms, the transport bay began to quiet down. The panic decreased. Families could think clearly enough to follow evacuation procedures. "This is working," reported the transport captain. "We can begin boarding." But there was a new problem. The human crew members did not want to leave their adopted families. "I am staying with Mingyu's family," announced Security Chief Kangan. "They need me on their transport ship." "So am I," said Communications Officer Yuna. "Little Jaehyun still has nightmares. His parents cannot handle the evacuation stress alone." Captain Daehyun watched this from the observation deck above the transport bay. His crew was voluntarily abandoning their military duties to protect alien refugees. By all regulations, this was mutiny. It was also the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. "Sir," his first officer said quietly, "if the crew goes with the refugee ships, we will not have enough people to properly defend the convoy." Daehyun looked down at the scene below. Human soldiers and engineers were boarding refugee transports, still carrying Thylorian babies in their arms. The children were calm and happy, even in the middle of evacuation chaos. "Then we'd better make sure the convoy does not need much defending," he said. "Sir, signal the Devourer scouts. Tell them we want to negotiate." "Captain, the Devourers do not negotiate. They destroy everything." "Maybe, but maybe they have never seen anything like this before." As the refugee ships launched one by one, each carried mixed crews of humans and aliens. Minho found himself assigned to transport ship Aurora, still holding baby Ki-hyun while helping Hana settle into their evacuation pod. "Are you sure about this?" Hana asked as the ship pulled away from the station. "You are leaving your military career behind." "No," Minho said, looking down at Ki-hyun, who was sleeping peacefully in his arms despite all the chaos. "I am finding what my military career was always supposed to be about." Through the transport ship's windows, they could see Sanctuary Station growing smaller behind them. Ahead, the first Devourer scout ships appeared as tiny points of light against the stars, but something unexpected was happening. The Devourer ships had stopped moving toward the refugee convoy. Instead, they held position as if waiting. "They are scanning us," reported the Aurora's captain, "but they are not attacking." "What are they looking for?" asked someone. Dr. Nara, who had also chosen to evacuate with the refugees instead of the military ships, was studying her instruments. "I think they are confused," she said. "Confused how?" "Devourer intelligence is based on fear and aggression. They attack things that run away and destroy things that fight back. But our convoy is doing neither." She was right. The mixed human-alien crews had created something new. The refugee ships were not running in panic because human protectors kept everyone calm. But they were also not acting like military targets, because their primary purpose was protecting children, not fighting. "The humans changed our behavior pattern," observed Elder Wu Jin, who was on the same ship. "We are not prey and we are not predators. We are families." Hours passed as the convoy moved steadily away from Devourer space. The scout ships followed but did not attack. It seemed like the machine minds of the Devourers could not categorize what they were seeing. In the Aurora's main cabin, dozens of human crew members sat with Thylorian families, keeping children calm and helping adults stay organized. The sight was repeated on every ship in the convoy. Lieutenant Hyejin was teaching Korean songs to a group of Thylorian children. Engineer Hyojin was helping elderly Thylorians understand the ship's safety systems. Sergeant Minho walked between family groups, still carrying baby Ki-hyun, making sure everyone felt secure. "You know," Hana said as she watched Minho with their son, "I think this is what the old prophecies meant." "What prophecies?" "Before our people developed space travel, we had stories about the sky warriors who would come during our darkest hour. Warriors who fought not with weapons but with love, who protected not by destroying enemies but by making families stronger." Minho smiled. "I never thought of myself as a prophet. Maybe the best prophets do not know they are prophets." As the convoy reached the edge of Devourer territory, the scout ships finally turned back. The machine minds had decided that the strange mixed fleet was not a threat worth pursuing. The evacuation was successful, but more importantly, it had created something entirely new.